Well, ladies and gentlemen, as mentioned, time for the very first panel of the day. It is about entertainment on mobile, music and videos. Our moderator for the session, we would like to invite him on stage, Mr. Dave Khare, Principal, Lightspeed Venture Partners. Let's hear it for him, please. Dave invests primarily in the internet and mobile sectors, including areas such as business software and services, commerce, financial services, location marketing, and social media. Previously, Dave was at Venrock, a leading Silicon Valley-based venture firm. Prior to Venrock, he led market developments in Symbol Technologies' mobile software division. Prior to Covigo, Dave worked in Crossworlds, Software Aditi Technologies, as well as in corporate finance at Johnson, Lufkin, and Jenrette & Jeffries and Company. Our first speaker on the panel is Mr. Vivek Paul, Director Digital Sony Music. May I invite you on stage, please? Vivek Paul's current portfolio is Director Digital and New Business. Before Sony Music, Vivek was founder, Paul Consulting, engaged in bringing together VC funding and digital businesses. Prior was with Soundbuzz India since its inception, which was then acquired by Motorola. 1996 to 2000 was managing promotions and marketing efforts of Channel V. Started career in FMCG with the biggest PepsiCo franchisee in India. Our next speaker on the panel is Mr. Swapnil Shinde, co-founder Dingana.com. He leads the overall product vision, engineering and operations for Dingana. In the past, he was the senior product manager and engineering lead for Yahoo's exceptional performance team. He has more than 10 years of professional experience working with companies like Yahoo, Symantec, and IBM Software Labs. Our next speaker on the panel is Mr. B. Vamshi Reddy, CEO and co-founder Apalya Technologies. Vamshi leads Apalya's efforts in corporate strategy and business development. Prior to starting Apalya, he worked at Cisco Systems Information Technology Management. Prior stints includes AT&T United States and Ernst & Young USA. Last but not the least, we have Mr. Salman Hussain, Managing Director, India and Middle East, ViewClip. Salman has over 10 years experience in the mobile media space. He runs business development and strategy in India for ViewClip. Prior to ViewClip, he worked for Verisign, Albada IT, and Electronics for Imaging. I'll request all our panelists right here on stage, please, and would like to hand over the session to our moderator, Mr. Dave Khare.
Thanks so much for joining us. I think mobile is a sector that saw a lot of promise, has seen a lot of promise in the last 10 years in India and has come and gone in terms of excitement. I think the excitement is starting to build again for a sort of new paradigm in mobile, more direct-to-consumer paradigm as opposed to purely going through operators with value-added services. So we want to focus on that side of the equation today, the direct-to-consumer equation, and sort of see where that market might go in the next 3 to 5 years. We have a great panel, I think, of exciting startups and content providers in the business. And, you know, we're going to try and focus on facts, figures, numbers, as opposed to only opinions. And since the audience largely consists of people in the industry, would love to get questions and make it more conversational. As we're talking here, feel free to put up your hand, and we'll sort of include everybody in the conversation. So, just want to start off with a quick round of introductions, a minute from each panelist on their business, from a numbers perspective if possible, the business model, and monetization model, and the one thing in the last year that they've done in their business that they're most proud of. So I'll start on that side with Salman from ViewClip.
Sure. Thanks, Dave. So ViewClip, let me give you a quick spiel on who we are and what we do. ViewClip is the world's largest independent mobile video search and delivery service. You can basically check out the offering on viewclip.com. What we offer in a nutshell is the ability for you, the end consumer, to search and watch for video clips on the fly on any device. Specifically talking about numbers, globally today we deliver over 750 million video views each month. Since we started the service late 2007, we've delivered over 8 billion video clips globally. Talking specifically about users, today we have over 35 million monthly active uniques who come onto ViewClip. Specific to the Indian market, we've sort of seen the mobile internet growth and we sort of experienced it ourselves. Today, ViewClip delivers over 120 million video views each month in India. and this is to a monthly active base of over 10 million. With regards to, I would say, the monetization aspect, we've sort of grown virally globally, and that's been because, I guess, of the ubiquitousness of the service. ViewClip can today be viewed across more than 5,500 plus devices. Specifically on the monetization front, the viewclip.com service itself is free to the end consumer. And what we do is we sort of follow the freemium approach, whereby we have a small subset, which is about 5 to 6% of these users, who actually subscribe for paid premium video services. And that really is the model that we've seen in the last year and a half grow. In terms of absolute numbers, while I can't talk about actual revenue numbers, what I can say is that in the last year, we've seen our revenues grow 8-fold because of the freemium model that we've approached. Again, to the last question, which is, what is it that we've sort of have been proud about, and specifically the Indian context? I think one thing has been that we've started help create an ecosystem for content owners, specifically around video in India. Today, we work with about 65 content owners. Earlier, we would sort of see everyone be more focused towards the audio part of the business, given the success of CRBT, etc. I think one of the biggest positives about the advent of 3G in India, while the service itself didn't take off as per expectations, was that most content owners started focusing on video. And I think that's sort of been something that we've been really proud of, that we helped put that together.
Thanks, Aman. Vamshi?
Represent Apalia Technologies. We are the leaders in providing mobile TV solutions, live streaming. So most of the, for the past 6 years, we have been in this space, pioneering the effort, and again, trying to ensure that we believe in the data ecosystem and the evolution of the data ecosystem. Again, enabling the ecosystem partners to build a business model which can actually help grow, data as such, basically, and video being the primary form of data. Again, as I said, we in the last 6.5 years. We have seen the technology evolution from delivering video streaming from low-end networks, 2G networks, to high-end 3G networks, and scaling up to higher networks as 4G comes into play and all that stuff. Have built a pretty strong ecosystem with both the OEM manufacturers as well as content partners. We work with close to 300 plus content partners today, with all the leading media companies in putting together business models for them, especially from a monetization standpoint. Have been growing at least over 200% year over year. Expect that growth to kind of grow more significantly, with data being the primary form of consumption going forward from a mobile standpoint.
Vamshi, could you give any numbers on how many, if you can't, I understand, but how many, what your audience size is and things like
So
that?
today, we have close to 15 million consumers basically on our operator-led model. So we are not a direct consumer model yet, but we have services which we started on direct consumer, where we have actually garnered close to 5 to 6 million users already, basically.
Great.
Last 1 year, we have been focusing on more on putting together solutions from actually bringing in a more of over-the-top solutions, so that we can combine the unified experience of TV viewing, basically.
Thanks. Swapnil?
Hey guys, this is Swapnil. I'm the co-founder of Dingana. Dingana is the biggest Indian music streaming service across web and mobile. We offer one of the biggest catalogs today available for streaming online, which spans across 35 different languages. We also have direct licensing deals with more than 300 music labels across the country. Today we have close to 10.5 million active visitors using our products from more than 200 countries around the world. And we are streaming close to 100 million minutes of music every month. We are also the only player to offer music streaming services across all core mobile platforms like iOS, Android, BlackBerry, and Nokia. And we are seeing huge amounts of growth on the mobile. Every 9 seconds, someone around the world downloads our app, and we have achieved this without spending $0 on marketing. So I think from a strategy perspective, we want to create a platform that which essentially becomes one of the biggest music distribution platform for the Indian repertoire. And I think we are very well positioned to achieve that particular goal given our current traction.
Thanks. Vivek?
Thanks. Okay, so I run the new business and digital business at Sony Music. I think everybody knows what Sony Music does. So the key things here are that we are a 15-year-old company in the market, and we came in as an international label, and now we focus on a lot of domestic content in the market in India. So we are about 15% as market share in the last 15 years. We hope to go to 30% market share. That's what our aspirations are. And I think the key thing about Sony Music right now is that we are very active even in the local domestic repertoire. When you look at Bollywood or look at language repertoires that's coming in from different markets. The third part being that what have we done in the last 1 year? I think the big thing is that Sony Music was a record label earlier. You would know Sony Music as a record label, creating a lot of content in the creating business. And in the last 1 year, we are now a true reflection of a music business. So there are many other things that we do besides just being a record label, like the publishing business or live music business or artist management or independent label in that perspective, and technology, and probably crossing over into some kind of partnership in a music tech incubation side of the story. Any other numbers that you...
No. How many tracks does
So,
I don't know if you can mention that, but
I
you
think,
can.
there are two ways to look at it. One way to look at it is that our domestic repertoire is sub 10,000, but it's effective because that's 15% market share. And globally, we are the second largest record label at 28%. Universal sits at 30. If they buy EMI, they'll get to 36. And we are also the single largest music publisher in the world by the acquisition of EMI that happened in this year.
Great, thank you. What I thought we could do for the audience is maybe talk a little bit about the music industry and then separately the video industry, sizes, who are the main content providers, because unlike banking or payments, etc., well, probably like them, there's a whole host of companies in the ecosystem and the value chain behind what you would see as a consumer consuming the music streaming service or the video viewing service. So let's talk about music first. And I guess Vivek and Swapnil can talk about that a little bit. Just talk a little bit about industry size, if you can. Who are the main drivers of distribution in terms of, is it mobile, CRBT is something else? And talk a little bit about the names of the content providers out there in the market.
Sure.
Swapnil.
So I can take a first pass at it. So from a internet perspective, we believe that India has huge potential from a market size perspective. Like for example, in 2011, we believe the market was somewhere around 120 million Indians using internet, and around 50% of that was from mobile. So we expect that number to grow significantly, close to 500 million by 2015, and we expect somewhere around 60-65% of them will be using internet via their mobile phones. So as a company, we are very highly focused on mobile. And I mean, we see that in terms of our numbers as well. Just in the last 12 months, we have grown by more than 300% on mobile. And primarily that growth is driven by Android in India. I mean, Android is growing at a much higher rate as compared to BlackBerry and Nokia when it comes to the smartphone market.
In terms of just the content providers, who are the labels that are out there, that are the bigger labels in the market, generally speaking? And
so we work with more than 300 music labels today. Some of the top labels are T-Series, Saregama, Sony, Tips, Venus, and there are a lot of good labels on the South India front as well, like Aditya Music, like around 50 to 60 labels that are under Simca, Isha Music. A lot is going on the devotional front, like from a content consumption perspective, we are seeing that around 40% of the consumption that happens on Dhingana is primarily the film music. So that actually tells you that majority of the consumption is today driven by all the regional long tail of the labels. Like that includes like the old music, Marathi music, Tamil, Telugu music to start with, Kannada music, Hindustani, classical, etc.
what are the main genres of music in the market today? How do you divide that up?
So we look at genres from a language perspective. rather than say a genre perspective. So when we try to categorize music, we categorize it as Hindi latest music, Hindi oldies, Hindi ghazals, Hindi bhajans, Malayalam, Sanskrit, devotional, like that.
Great.
So, Dave, if I can just add on to what Swapnil is just saying, I think just to put in perspective, there are two things here. So there is the music business and then there's the recorded music business. So what Swapnil just explained is the part of the music, the recorded music business, that's where they license the content and distribute. If you look at music business at large, you'll probably find that there's a recording business, live business, merchandising, talent management, and tons of things like that. So I think the key thing here is that for you to understand that a sound recording has 3 rights. So when you build a service or when we create content, there are 3 rights in that. There's the sound recording right, which sits with the record label, which is the voice of the artist. There's the underlying melody and lyric of the song, which is a publisher's right for music. And there is public performance, which is governed by a society called IPRS in India and many societies worldwide. Now, these 3 things comprise of a sound recording. And that's what you actually get down to buy as a user or, as a distribution service, you take license for distribution. So that's first part. Second part, there are about 350 labels in this market, from big to small. And I think there are mainstream labels which are pretty much engaged in Bollywood as soundtrack or film music as soundtrack, which comes from regions as well. And then there are big labels like Saregama, which have deep catalog, which gets into long tail, like Swapnil mentioned. And I think that the big thing about distribution and the genres perspective is that the active music on digital distribution has been very mainstream because that's where the media focus has been, whether you look at television, radio, internet.
I mean, it's been like Bollywood, mainstream.
Yeah, that's Bollywood, right? I mean, that's right on your face. And I think if you really look at Bollywood as a brand, it has pretty much gone into the music space, creation of rights, and also entered many other things like television or endorsement business or so on and so forth. So what that means for music business is that there is a deep catalog which has been recorded for the last 100 years. The big company, in my perspective, would be Saregama in that sense, from catalog perspective. If you look at it from market share perspective, it could be determined and differentiated different ways. But I think as we cross into from physical to digital distribution and go further in time, curation is going to be one of the most important things. To what you, Swapnil, just mentioned, language and putting content below language is actually curation. And where we are finding the whole digital distribution going in from here on in the second stage is stuff like sharemyplaylist.com, where the music is being created by the user and it's being curated by the user.
So let's talk about the future in a second, but I want to just give the highlights here. Digital recorded music, about a $2 billion business from what a consumer pays perspective, and about 250 million, if I remember correctly, 250 million goes to the labels. Is that about right?
So it's a $2 billion market in India when the user pays 10 rupees to a telecom company.
Okay.
About $250 million goes to the recording
And
industry.
what are the main distribution methods, CRBT, etc.? Can we talk about that?
Actually, I think, I can give you 2 perspectives to that. So one is the physical business. You pretty much see CD being bought. The second is in the last 10 years or 15 years of the business evolving from physical to digital. The first product which was very exciting was Ringtone. Second came the telecom-led business model on voice platform, where callback tone was the most dominating product. And both of these products are actually derivatives of music. They're not full music consumption products. It's not the full song that you're accessing.
So CRBT out of 2 billion, is that a majority of the market today on mobile?
I think from a digital music distribution perspective, operator-driven models today are the majority of the revenue model. Right. And I think the top line is 200 crores when it comes to CRBT.
Okay, got it.
I think I'd like to add on next to that it's just not telecom. From recording industry perspective, even Nokia comes with music service, is massive because it's per device integrated to full track of music. So if you dissect derivative music and full track music, you would find that full track music is the space where we sit in here, streaming services, download services, and device embedded services like Nokia, Dingana, Savan, Flight, Ghana. That's the new landscape now.
Let's move to the video side. And I just want to do a quick time check. How much time do we have Sahad, I don't know if you know, or Ben, if he's here. When do we need to finish? You mean what percentage goes to who in the value chain?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. How's the revenue being, distributed within the, the various...
Which business model? Because
the
there's
music,
so many
the
of
music
these.
one, the music one.
Music what? Music CRBT or music streaming?
No,
or
the overall for both the verticals.
Okay, so let me answer that question for you. There are two parts to that. So when you look at mobile music, the music industry makes about 25% of revenue. About 8% goes back into content aggregators, 10% to platform, remaining with telco and government. On the PC side of the business, it differentiates itself. So it's 60% going back to music industry, 30% remaining back with distributor, and 10% is your margin for credit card billing and otherwise.
Thank you. Yeah.
Great. Let's go to the video side. Similar thing, how big is the market? How many content providers are there? And what are the main categories of genres out there in the market?
So Dev, you hit upon a very sensitive subject, size. So let me talk with regards to the video space itself. Let me actually throw out two metrics. Mobile video really has been a reflection of mobile internet growth in itself, and especially in the Indian context. There is a report out by Cisco, which is the Visual Networking Index report, which actually gives a very good reflection of how mobile internet is growing, and specifically mobile video, both on the internet as well as mobile side. Cisco predicts that the mobile internet space itself will grow 26-fold in the next 5 years. And of that already in 2012, they claim 50% and more of mobile internet traffic is video. And we are seeing a reflection of that already in the Indian context on the telco networks. The other metric I would say is in terms of, specifically the size of the market itself. I think mobile video is still very much in its infancy in the Indian space. I think right now, if I were to sort of hazard a guess, I would probably not put it at more than 200-300 crores at the most top line.
Who are the main content providers? Just names of whether it's national or local.
So we sort of see content providers in three spectrums over here. We see, production houses, whether they're movie production houses like someone like a UTV or a Reliance Entertainment, or you see music labels, for example, somebody like Sony themselves. Who sort of fall on the, I would say, the more advanced or technologically savvy set, who understand the internet space, who understand the potential for mobile video, who are already digitizing their content, who are tagging it, and who are looking at various distribution mediums. The second set, I would say, which is what we are seeing grow in a large way in India in the last year and a half, have been the regional players, right? So, for example, today we work with someone like MaTV, who again I would actually categorize at the upper end of the spectrum, who've been in the mobile space for the last 8 years, who have a huge library of video content that's already digitized. But we also meet partners, for example, who are sitting on, say, 300 Bhojpuri movies. They have the rights for it. They want to get into the mobile video space. They don't understand it too well, and then they say that, hey, we heard you guys, are a good distribution monetization partner. How can we work with you? And the third set, I would say, which is the set which is the most difficult to deal with, are guys who just come and place 40 CDs on the table and say, pay me my money, and that's all. We don't want to do anything else. You go figure out, edit it yourself. That's definitely a partner we don't want to work with, but then that's the spread of the ecosystem.
Okay. Vamshi, anything from your side?
Yeah, I think from what we are looking at from some of the reports out there, I think video per se for globally is projected to be anywhere between $6 to $7 billion and growing basically extensively. From Indian market standpoint, I think one of the key things is that if you look at mobile internet as such, basically, For the basic SMS and data related, basic related products like messaging and all that stuff, we already have 2G networks, edge networks, which were capable of delivering that. I think the whole need for higher end networks is to actually enable data as such, which means, the growth which we are looking at from mobile internet, we at least expect that it's around 80 million users who are on mobile internet right now. And with a lot of tariffs coming down in this year and, recently, we are at least expecting those guys to graduate to a 3G network or a higher speed network. So at least you are expecting anywhere between 80 to 100 million people who are coming in the next year and a half onto higher speed networks. So that is the opportunity out there to capitalize on, people who are actually extensively using video, like what Salman is saying. We see from a mobile streaming standpoint, tremendous growth. The consumers who used to watch, 3 to 4 minutes of streaming a year ago has gone up by actually watching 17 to 20 minutes of streaming currently.
Per day, per month?
Per user per day, basically.
Per day.
And again, it depends on different kinds of content. Specifically, as we have been officially hosting most of the live streaming events, basically, which is cricket predominantly. You've seen as much as more viewership than what kind of YouTube generated from online for IPL this year. We were doing around 500,000 views a day, basically, from mobile, basically. And again, given that the networks are not really there yet from a quality standpoint, so I expect that to actually keep growing. And I think from a content partner standpoint, again, like what Salman was saying, the different categories of content partners, but work with most of the leading partners to all the long tail of content as well. So your monetization mechanism comes with actually clubbing content to reach to the masses, both from a regional as a local and a global perspective.
Got it.
Of the users see it as a free service. So all that money goes to the operator because they are the ones who are using it as a pipe. So this 200 crore revenue, or the number you talked about, video revenue in the country from India, who's keeping? So do I understand it right that 95% of that is pipe revenue going to the operator because all these free users are just downloading and accessing video?
So let me sort of break that up into two parts. When I talked about the consumption happening for the free viewclip.com piece, right? Over there, primarily, yes, we sort of help operators in two ways. One is in terms of compressing the amount of data itself that is getting onto their networks, right? So versus a guy watching the same video online versus getting it via, say, some service like ViewClip, there's a huge amount of compression that happens. So there's a lot of saving for the telco in that perspective. Absolutely, in terms of the second aspect, which is, speaks to our monetization model itself. So we sort of look at the freemium model, like I said. So there's a chunk of those guys today that we move on to a subscription-based premium video product. On the first bit, again, that's something that primarily the telco keeps. The second bit really, again, is sort of more of the standard model that's out there in the market, which is based on subscription. But I see it sort of like as a hybrid. In other markets outside of India that we operate, say, for example, in Indonesia or even in Singapore or Malaysia, we work with a lot of telcos to come up with, say, for example, video data packs, where we help telcos, monetize that data pipe in terms of not just compression, but also giving them a reason to get more consumers onto the service. From an end consumer standpoint, it's helpful because they may watch 10 videos normally online and say, if you were to, just for math's sake, say that it's about 10 MB, you're talking about 100 MB consumption. Whereas if you came through someone like a ViewClip, you're probably talking about 1/10 of that consumption. So it helps them reduce their payout from their wallet as well.
So this 200 crore number, 200 to 300 crore, you said is the total volume of video business in India which is being collected by the operators. So that's the number, or is this the percentage which is available to you and partners, this 200 crore number?
The first part.
The first part.
That's, yeah, and that's a guesstimate. There's no official number that's out there.
So we've laid sort of the groundwork with a lot of numbers and sort of how the industry works. Let's talk about what's going to happen in the next few years. Let me just, before we get to your question, let me just lay out a few things that from an investor perspective are exciting as well as problem areas that can be solved by startups. We see numbers going from 7-8 million active smartphone, mostly Android, mobile app users today to 20-25 million by December this year, 50 to 60 million December next year, and so on. On the mobile website, we see about 60 million mobile internet users, mobile web users today, going to 100 million by December this year, 250 million next year. So if we have a 5 to 6 year horizon on investing, these numbers are getting pretty big, yet there are several sort of gaps in the market today. Payments is a big one. Most of the monetization has taken place through operators, with that rev share being 60-70% to the operators in most cases. Are we seeing models like what Vodafone has done now, where those models come down to 30% rev share to the operator for off-tech? Can that go to other operators as well? Many people are pessimistic about that. It'll be slow, probably. Are we seeing off-tech payment channels like what Alipay does in China or PayPal does in the US coming into the fore here? We'll have a panel on that later. Lack of metrics, we talked about that on the panel. We all have lots of numbers here. There's no third-party mechanism to sort of say this is what each app provider is actually doing and getting, and would love to see that in the market a little bit. We're seeing also, I think we're a bit subscale right now in terms of users who use data. Everywhere we see, companies topping out right now at about 10 to 15 million uniques a month at the max. That number hopefully increases next year and the year after that. But that 10 to 15 million number is common across lots of things. I think Flipkart says they've got 10 to 15 million registered users. There are 15 million credit cards in India. There are 10 to 15 million active smartphone users in India. That's the number we're looking at, which if you think about it, is a small number on a global basis. So those numbers are small. I'm excited about
I want to ask a question. Okay. Hi.
I'm sorry?
This is Sandil.
Yeah.
I'm first time coming to an Indian mobile event. The first numbers which was said by when they introduced TechCircle was we have about 900 million phones. We are reaching 1 billion phones in maybe next couple of months, right? And the top 3 guys, they are supposed to be the best companies, okay, probably. But they have less than 1% of share, right? And they are not targeting feature phones, right? Feature phones are getting smarter. And probably what happens if iTunes comes to India? Or any other streaming service comes to India?
So what is your specific question?
No, this looks for a disruption. Yeah, they don't have a percentage of share, right? The whole market. Yeah.
You're saying there's no disruption because
it can have a disruption anytime, right? See, they are market leaders, but they have about a percentage of share for overall market.
Yeah. So what's the point?
So let me just answer it quickly. Like, for example, from our perspective, right now we are maniacally focused on the smartphone markets. So if you look at the smartphone market today, it's close to 7-8 million on Android, say a couple of million on BlackBerry, maybe close to 250,000 to 300,000 on iPhone. So that is our target market as of today. I understand that the feature phone market is also very attractive, and that is something that we are considering looking at as well. But if you look at the smartphone market, the active number of users who actually use their smartphones to connect to internet on a monthly basis, that is the number I think we should be looking at rather than the total subset, like the total number of phones that are shipped in India, the total number of phones that are used, because at the end of the day, we care about phones that access internet and consume data. So if you kind of take that subset, then the numbers start making more sense.
Yeah, I mean, if the numbers, let's say 60 million, 70 million mobile internet out of 7 to 900, again, the numbers are so fuzzy here. But let's say 7 to 900 million, even if you dedupe out people who have SIM cards, 2 SIM cards or more, let's say it's 700 million, the numbers are small, but it's still about 10% of the market, I would say, that has access to the internet through their mobile devices, and then you take their share as a part of that. Yes, a majority of the market by far is feature phones, and it's people who just use it for making phone calls and doing texting. That's the market today. That'll grow overall over time.
I can give an example like AccuWeather. Right? It's not a streaming app. It's a weather app. It's on Android phones, and it does about 10 billion requests per month.
How many monthly actives is that?
Okay. Maybe at least 150, 200 million should be there, right?
250 million unique monthly actives.
Probably, yes.
And which app is this?
AccuWeather on all Android
in
phones.
India?
Not India, globally, right?
Oh, globally?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, scale is global, right? I don't think they're screaming only India about India. They have exposure outside as well.
Right.
So, I'm not done any streaming, but I'm seeing probably I can come into your market and probably I can take your cake as well.
Right, so I think it's important to understand that from a number perspective, like we look at ourselves as a global company, but we are targeting Indians globally. So when you target Indians globally, that's like a nice subset of all the people who access internet from that particular like segment, like devices or whatever it is. So I think these numbers are, I mean, from our perspective, we look at numbers from the Indian diaspora perspective and then kind of slice it down based on the smartphone market, etc.
I mean, there's no denying it. I think a lot of the growth lies in the future for companies in this space. If you look at 1 billion users, let's say 5 years from now, let's say 40-50% of them are on smartphone operating systems of one kind or the other, low-end Androids. I've got a Micromax phone here that I bought for 4,500 rupees the other day, and that runs Android. That number can come down to 3,000 rupees, let's say in another year. We start getting into the price range of the mass user in India. Right now it isn't there. And if you have 500 million, 400 million smartphone OS users in a few years, I think a lot of them will start using mobile entertainment services, and that's the potential here. It's small today, but it's getting there fast. Let's talk about another thing in the market today, which is specific to entertainment, which is copyright. There's a new law that was debated and passed by Parliament a few months ago, the Copyright Amendment Act. I just want to have a few quick sound bites on that. What will that change in the market from a consumer perspective or a distribution perspective in the next couple of years? Just a couple of quick sound bites.
Let me give it a shot. Okay. I think short answer to that is that there will be two dramatic changes with this. First, there will be a publishing business that will emerge in India. And second, I think there is a compelling need for a metadata company to be created for analytics and for some kind of measurement of how the digital distribution of the content is happening. It's as simple as that.
I think also part of the bill is about lyricists, composers, etc., participating in future revenue streams from music where they haven't been able to do that in the past.
Yeah, you see, at the consumer level, it doesn't impact because the consumer is paying that end user price. And where it is going to go and create it itself as an impact is going to be how the revenue flow happens back to the artist and author, lyricist, composer. So like I said, that there are three parts to the sound recording. There is the record label and the music publisher. Music publisher interest in India is not being protected today because of the big business model called Bollywood. It's been only for film. Non-film has always been paying to the artist, so there's no dispute in that part. I think the big thing that will happen here is that the publishing business will emerge. I think that's the summary of all, you know. You will have pretty much a structured business like you have out west. You go to record labels for sound recording, you go to music publishers for publishing. That's the same thing that will happen here as well. And to give you specifically an example like Ringtone, which is a big product that sells in India, you would actually go to a publisher for that license. You won't go to a record label. Or unless and until the label is still administering that right.
Thanks.
So from our perspective, when it comes to the law, first of all, it won't come into effect unless our awesome president signs it. But apart from that, the key takeaway from that law is that a lot of artists will now start getting fair share of their revenues from either the music labels or the producers or the way their revenue chain works with their partners. As far as we are concerned, I think we are more focused on the internet music streaming market. This law, as of today, affects more of the broadcasting, it affects more radio companies and TV broadcasting for music. So if you ask the question if we are directly affected by it, we are not as of now. But in the future, if internet business starts coming under the broadcasting paradigm, then yes, we will be affected.
I just want to add one quick one. I don't think there is an effect here. You shouldn't see it as a black and white. I think the way you should see it is that as our Indian market progresses ahead in time and people are going to consume music more digitally, there is a need for business to be structured on the licensing level. And at the same time, if you look at what's happening globally, there is standardization of metadata and standardization of royalty being talked about right now. So you are going to get into this phase where, yes, it's going to affect you. It's not as simple as just broadcaster and no distributor. This is going to impact everyone who is going to use music, because there is something called publishing, which links to underlined works, which is the melody and the lyric, and those people need to be paid, and all those people need to be first be in your metadata to be measured, and also their contribution to each song. So it is going to affect at every level in that perspective.
Quick soundbite from the video side. Anything, does that affect you guys at all?
I think our viewpoint is anything which helps strengthen and build out the ecosystem, we're all for that. At the end of the day, again, we are acting more as a distribution/monetization partner for these guys. And if it helps them in terms of, helping generate more content as a result of the revenue that's being accrued, definitely we would want that to happen.
I think the other part that I can say is karaoke is a big business model for that.
Karaoke, okay, great. I'll switch to the user engagement side, and want to get just some quick thoughts from the applications and services companies here as to what is it in your application services, or I want to maybe take it up a high level. What is it that people who are starting applications and services business in India should think about of key ways to use to make their applications in mobile entertainment more engaging? What is it that brings people back again and again? Is it content? Is it specific types of engagement mechanisms? What is it that's working for you all that drives high engagement, repeat usage for your mobile applications and services?
I can talk specifically for us. I think the engagement primarily comes from content as such, what we have seen. I think content is a compelling reason basically why the users would come back. And, experience with related to all the ecosystem, whether it's basically, the network conditions itself and all that plays.
That's not under your control, network conditions.
Yeah, and that's the reason I'm saying, assuming that all the other conditions are in place, then the key differentiator or the compelling reason why the user would come back is, what kind of content you are offering in the service itself.
Just purely breadth of content.
Yeah, I think it's a breadth of content basically, and very subjective content to that particular user as such.
But isn't there a role there for curation or discovery? If you've got thousands and thousands of videos, how does anybody know what they want?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the two aspects is, breadth of content, the way it is actually, kind of put together for the user basically. So, I think recommendations, all the standard stuff which we do from a user perspective.
Okay.
I think one of the big changes we've seen, we launched ViewClip back in 2008 in India. Earlier, about 60 to 70% of the videos being viewed were primarily because of folks coming and searching for specific videos. The last 3 to 4 years, we've seen a massive change where the social angle has really picked up. Now, more than 60 to 70% of videos being viewed are because of friends recommending videos. So I like a video and I forward it to you and you watch it. That's sort of become the primary way that people are now consuming videos.
Okay, thanks.
So to add to that, from Dhingana's perspective, one of our differentiating factors is that we have a very huge focus on social music discovery and personalized recommendations. So what I mean by that is today, more people are not searching for music to play it. More people are not looking at categories of music to go and select a category that they want to listen to. But if you kind of use Dhingana, we are saying that there is a lot of value when if you go to an album page on Dhingana, you just see one module to the right, that is like recommendations. That recommendation module is powered by personalized recommendations. We use advanced techniques like data mining, clustering, collaborative filtering to figure out what kind of music you might be liking based on your past music history on Dhingana, based on the music that you have liked or favorited on Dhingana. So those kinds of algorithms, I believe, is going to be the future of music for our market. It's going to be more about personalization and recommendations. If you come to Dhingana's homepage, it should be completely personalized for you rather than just showing you top songs from a certain category. So these particular investments that we have done in these areas have boosted our engagement to a level where we are now seeing 10 times more engagement from our mobile applications as compared to our site.
Any questions from the audience? Yes, please. Please identify yourself as well.
My name is Vishwas. I wanted to understand what are different usages of video. What categories do people watch these videos? And the other, information that I've seen across is people use a lot of offline videos. They go to a retail store, they know they download, whatever content they need in SD card, and they play it on the video on the mobile phone. So there you see the role of device playing a larger role because of quality and the resolution. So is that a prevalent use that you see online, offline, and what are different use cases that you're seeing even in online?
Actually, that's a really good question. So there are 2 or 3 points I'd like to make over there. One is actually the gentleman's earlier question as well with regards to sort of the penetration that we're seeing. For folks who are trying to sort of build out applications for the Indian space, I would say one is definitely India is still very much ruled by the feature phone market. Smartphones are still a sub 10% category. The lines also are blurring. So, for example, you see the entire new Nokia Asha series phones. Now, what do you call that? Those are phones sitting on like 1 gigahertz processors, dual SIM touchscreen phones, and they sort of are blurring the line between feature and smart. To your question with regards to the kind of content that's being viewed, so again, because we are search, we sort of see a very long tail. So there's not a situation where a specific video will drive,
I
10
think
million.
it's question more on use case, download versus streaming versus other things.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think 2 parts to this question. One is what's being viewed, and secondly, the ecosystem, right? So the first part, which is, I think we see sort of the breakup being about, 22 to 28% of content being viewed sort of falls into the movie space. And I'm not talking just Bollywood. I'm talking of Tollywood. I'm talking of Collywood. I'm like all across India. The second aspect I would say about another sub 30% is, and growing like almost 3x in the last year, has been a lot of non-filmy regional content that's sort of seeing massive traction. The third bit that we're seeing is sort of like spikes of content usage whenever breaking news happens. I know it's a very cliched term, but I can give you 2 examples. So, for example, when the tsunami happened in Japan, there was a video out from Associated Press, which is one of our partners, in the first 20 minutes of that. And it's unusual for a single video to garner that many video views, but within a span of like 48 hours, we had 1.5 million video views for that single video in India. So news, obviously, and disastrous news always has more views, like a Benazir Bhutto assassination, which is captured on video, has a massive viral aspect to it. The second part, which is, what the offline versus sort of online. So we sort of see, video again in terms of long form video and video clips. There are 2 separate angles to it, right? So on the short form content, which is video on demand clips, which is primarily the space we are in, online, offline really doesn't matter because it's sort of very, I would say, impulsive in terms of looking for stuff and watching it and doing it on the fly, whether you're waiting for a flight to take off or whether you're sitting in a bus and trying to kill time. And we've seen some really interesting cases where, I had a colleague of mine who was, visiting Old Delhi near Kareem's at Jama Masjid, and he had a fruit seller's son who's like a 14, 15-year-old kid who was watching a video on ViewClip on his phone. And we were like, okay, we also have an audience like that we would never think of. He's just killing time. He's not doing anything else there. He's selling fruits. There is obviously a massive, offline sort of market that's there. And I think that's primarily more for long-form content, like movies, etc.
That's mostly pirated today.
That's mostly pirated stuff that's available. But I'm also seeing, a huge change in terms of how labels are tackling piracy in terms of trying to legitimize that market. Now you are seeing, labels going out to these markets and actually giving out a legitimate content out there and trying to, leverage that market as well.
Any last point before we finish up the panel? We're out of time. On downloads, anything else? No? Okay, I think do we have a time for one more question or should we finish up? Should we finish? All right, we got to finish now, but the panelists will be here and outside, so you're welcome to talk to them. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Let's say it for all our panelists right here. Thank you very much for making this session very, very interesting and interactive.